couple minutes here, and then I'm just going to load up a few things and start chatting a little bit about what I'm noticing specifically in search. And like I was saying earlier, and not everyone was on the chat, but since a lot of people are from the tourism space, when I reviewed the attendee list, I want to dig specifically into what seems to be happening from a tourism and travel standpoint, because and hospitality as well, because I can understand this is going to not just impact us now, but as the season that's coming up that everyone's depending on. I think it's going to be a very interesting summer, to say the least. Okay, can everyone see the Google Trends page up there? Nope, I am sharing the wrong screen. So we'll just move things into it. Hey, let's try that again. Okay, all right. Okay, Kenzie, can you confirm you can see the trends page?
Sure can.
Awesome. All right. So this page here, I'll publish it probably later this week. It's still kind of a work in progress. This is just us putting together our thoughts, and this is going to be an ongoing work in progress as well. I'm really curious about the tourism space. I'm not currently working in it, but I have worked in it in the past. Oh, and some chat.
That's just me.
Okay, that's fair. Really curious about this. So we're going to be updating things. I'm going to get my technical expert as well to dig into what he's seeing. And we're really curious of what's happening from a trend standpoint. So specifically, I looked into Nova Scotia, Halifax, and Cape Breton because most of us are local to here. And just kind of curious to see what was happening. So we'll just open up trends here and run Nova Scotia through. So US, no one's really caring about Nova Scotia, but when we go worldwide, we start seeing a tick up. And that would be great news if everyone was getting prepped up for the tourism season. But you guys will notice when it starts to really tick up is when things start to really escalate quickly. And I don't know about yourselves, but I've become more of a news junkie than I ever have. And the quick way I can do this from a trend standpoint or from a search standpoint, I just look up Nova Scotia, and then I either pull something from here or I click into the news to see what's happening. And this is what I'm associating with this spike in traffic, specifically towards Nova Scotia. And it may not just be people in Nova Scotia, it's people from around the world that are checking in on Nova Scotia are curious. We were one of the last places, from what I understand, other than maybe the territories in North America, to really start feeling this impact from this. One thing cool about trends is you can drill down to specific categories in here. So you'll see there's a tick up here when we're talking broadly about it as a search term. But once we start switching this over to travel, things start tanking off because people aren't curious about it. There's a little slight uptick here. I'm attributing that to when people start to think things are getting serious and I got to get home. If anybody from Nova Scotia tourism there has got some insights on what's happening, I'd love to have you. Feel free to chime in at any point. So yeah, we're contributing that to travel, but travel to return home. When we look at Halifax specifically as well, similar trends, sort of. Things just start tanking off. This is travel specific. No one's looking to travel to Halifax. I'm assuming there's a lot of university students trying to leave, so they're probably exploring other ways. When we take this back to all categories, it just kind of flattens out. Nothing really to speak of at this point. I think I'm attributing some of this following week there drop off being people stop being concerned specifically about the city and actually started being a little bit more concerned about the province as a whole. I think that's kind of great that we're getting a lot more community happening right now, and people are more concerned about their neighbors than other people, or about them than themselves, or about Halifax. Ugh. Sorry, I tried to make some really great point there, and I don't have it. Don't mind me. Similar insights. We dug into Cape Breton a bit as well. Oh, here, Jennifer. Oh, yeah. We're working with Destination Canada, and also we'll be doing primary research with our online panels to gather insights to recovery. I don't have access to web stats from NovaScotia.com, but our market team will be watching this closely. That's good to know. Jennifer, whenever you guys get that detail, I'd love to hear more about it. So if you want to reach out to me outside of this meeting, I'd like to know. Curious as well from the tourism standpoint, are people seeing trends drop pretty much across the board? I'm curious more about like social media. Maybe Anita, I don't know if you have any insights into what's happening from a tourism standpoint in social media, because I assume people are still interested in traveling from their computers and exploring things, just not able to kind of book and whatnot. No, okay, that's fair. Anita just said, sorry, can't say. Yeah. And this is something too, I think a lot of us are just trying to make sure our businesses still stay afloat. So any of this kind of exterior research is, unless it directly relates to what we're working on, or we're in the tourism place like Jennifer there, where it's her day to day, we're going to see more interesting stuff come up. As far as Cape Breton goes, definitely dropped off around the same time. And then when we switch over to travel, a drop off, slight little tick up. I'm assuming this is people traveling back home. Not saying that this is measuring people actually traveling, but people researching how to get back home. As far as the key takeaways and other things I've noticed, some weird little anomalies. We've seen weekend traffic come up. I deal mostly in the software space. So when we're looking at month over month traffic or analyzing things in week chunks, we'd always have these valleys on the weekend in software because people are home, they're not researching it as much. And what we've noticed in the last week, that valley's gotten a lot shallower because there's starting to be this blur between home and work right now. And I assume a lot of people like myself are having to put in extra hours here and there just when they can to try to make things still keep moving. But some key takeaways that we're taking away from this, or I'm going to call these initial takeaways when I rewrite this, because I feel like the key is, since it's still evolving, we don't know what's going to happen, but people can't travel at this time, but that doesn't mean they can't learn more about places. With this in mind, we suggest exploring what secondary keywords drive traffic to your site. So, for example, Nova Scotia, what's this, Jennifer? Destination Canada did say that they would be slowing social posts, but would still be posting pieces of Inspire about Canada. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's really the strong play here, is to keep people interested, because this will pass. This will pass, and this is a great time from an SEO standpoint. If you've been sitting on if you've ever gotten an audit done, you got this big list of technical issues with your site, and you're like, okay, we took care of the stuff that's going to immediately help. And there's all this secondary stuff. It'd be nice to have. This is the time to kind of go through it. If you've got some downtime, this is the time to kind of firm up that site and have it in a good position for when everything starts going well again. Because I don't know about you, but I'm going to travel as soon as I can. First thing I'm going to do is go hug somebody that I do, and then I'm going to go travel. But so with people exploring this, with this in mind, we suggest exploring what secondary keywords drive traffic to your site. So if we were to search Nova Scotia right now, it's very, very news-oriented. Government of Nova Scotia, okay, Tourism Nova Scotia is still doing great in there. A lot of news is going to take over that. But if you were to look up Oak Island right now, for an example, I mean, you got the Wikipedia page, you got this Curse of Oak Island, which is killing it as well. But there's still, this isn't as bombarded with COVID-19 or coronavirus traffic, because it's a smaller region. The intent of people could be that they're trying to learn more about Oak Island. They could be learning about the show, but there's still people exploring these things. So you want to get that kind of buzz in their ears so that when they can travel, this is the places they want to go. So focusing on those secondary ones, that the search results are not going to be dominated with results about the virus and how this is affecting that region. So smaller regions of Halifax still have a lot of drive. A lot of people would still come and visit, or they would be the main reason why people would visit Nova Scotia. I feel are a great opportunity. Yeah, we would look at ones in secondary positions. So if you guys aren't familiar with Search Console, it's a great tool for digging in, and it can work really well. It can work well with analytics. It can be tied in with analytics. I like to use it as a standalone product, just from a research standpoint. It's an awesome place to find what you're ranking for and what's driving traffic. And what I like to look for is things that are sitting in those third, fourth, fifth, those bottom of first page results. Because with, like, using this Oak Island example, there's a great opportunity here, because you will see the Tourism Nova Scotia is down here, Oak Island Tourism Nova Scotia. The first couple of things are about Oak Island as information. The Wikipedia page, the show on the history. But what if you wanted to visit Oak Island? If there's a way you can change your title, and there looks to be a little bit of real estate there, to kind of pull in that this is the first result out of here that's going to show you what it's like to come and visit Oak Island, not just learn about the show, not just learn about it from a historical standpoint. You can increase some click-through rate within these secondary positions by defining what your intent is. Your intent is to get people to explore Oak Island as a place to go and travel. So there's an opportunity there. And I'm only using Oak Island because it was the first thing to come to my mind. There's a pile of searches. Actually, when we ran this through a third-party tool, Oak Island was driving more traffic, according to them, and it's an estimation of traffic. We don't have access to your analytics, than actually the term Nova Scotia, because of all this buzz around the Curse of Oak Island show. And yeah, so Tourism Nova Scotia is currently in that 5th position. These top results here are informational, and then the show, I would say as well, if you're looking for ideas for secondary content, these people also ask. They may not have search volume around it, but it's a real easy way to create some blog content around Oak Island that may not be answered by other people right now, or find ways that you can answer it better than who's already answering it. So TV over mine, Michigan man finds 200-year-old. If you're able to write something about how asking this question on a page or in a blog content, or creating an FAQ page around the Oak Island site, then around the Oak Island subject, excuse me, then you can ask and then answer these questions right afterwards. It's a good opportunity for ranking for some peripheral content that you can use to support the rest of your content. Oh, Sean just posted something about, oh, cool. Brands advertising coronavirus. I'm gonna have to look into that one as well. Would anybody else like to jump in here? Anita, it looks like you have some great statistics showing business who keep marketing through a recession. Oh. Does social media affect ranking this keyword soon? Social media I've always considered social media an indirect influencer. I have read conflicting reports of Google having a special deal with social media tools where any sort of social media push would reflect in search results, and I've read the opposite. But even if that was true, or even if it wasn't true that social media did not influence it, it can be an indirect influencer. So the more you have buzz on social media, the more people are seeing articles about this, the more likely they are to share something outside of social media, which then becomes an authoritative backlink, or to search for this phrase outside of the social media platform as well. If you're constantly seeing things about Nova Scotia on your social media and you're out in Vancouver, there's a higher likelihood that you will search this outside of that. And it's really hard to kind of segment that traffic, or attribute that traffic, excuse me, segment wasn't the right word, but social media, okay, so social media gets traffic to your site. I don't think the traffic to your site from social media would directly increase authority. Directly. It's one of those it depends kind of things. Does promotion on Instagram or Facebook affect SEO? Indirectly, it can, yes. The more buzz you have, it's just like social media can affect SEO, even if there is no direct relation in like an API that Google's pulling from popular social media platforms. Social media can act the same way a billboard can. If you see something on the side of the road, you can always search it. So that if you're going after, like, say, branded terms and you're showing up more and more in social media, or you've had a billboard out there, there's a higher likelihood that people are going to search your link building. I wouldn't consider social media link building. So I'm answering questions right now. If everybody wants to see the group chat, I've kind of gotten through my notes on this. So link building on social media wouldn't technically be link building. It's being shared more. There's more signals, but I would say stronger link building would be finding relevant content that relates to what you're talking about and getting those people to link. So Anita, are you getting requests to link build personally, or people are offering the service to you? As social media, there's always ways to game this. Google's always getting better at gaming, at finding the gamed link building. From more links does generally mean more authority, but you want to look at this from a quality standpoint versus a quantity. I said generally does link building and ranking. Does link building influence ranking? Is that what you're trying to ask, Omid? Links, authoritative links do help build authority, which can influence rank if they're coming from qualified places. But I would focus on the quality versus the quantity of them. And I wouldn't just go out and get a pile of them. And it can get dangerous if you're just building, like, especially if you're paying a service to do this, you got to pay attention to what they're building their links from and if it's actually having an effect. So if you're going to go after a link building strategy, I would define what your kind of thresholds are and what you're hoping to get from this link building, not just blanketly trying to add as many links as possible. And I would target specifically sites or content that you have an existing relationship with, that you can get a really qualified link from and build some community while you're doing this link. Ooh, the Hoth. Yeah, that's fair. The Hoth, I've seen them around trade shows. I explored them for a little bit because I was curious about them. I don't have an opinion on them specifically. It has been proven to work. It depends. Joel, I wouldn't go after a paid service unless that's really what's going to kind of push the needle. If, let's say, you're going after a specific term and you have done all the optimizations and you still can't get to you just can't break the first page, then I would start looking at what's kind of driving those top pages. Is it an authority play? Are they getting a lot more? Are the pages in the top have the stronger authority? And then look at what's linking to them and explore. And then it's not just as easy as just creating a whole pile of links. It's more like, sorry, I'm going to butcher this. I apologize. If it's what's driving the top page, then it's definitely worth exploring. But I would really approach it with some caution. And yeah. Any other questions out there, guys? I just wouldn't make it the first approach, Joel. Joel's asking, so is link building a last resort approach? I would definitely say that link building wouldn't be the first thing I approach. I would definitely look at authority to see if that's the play. But if everyone has roughly the same authority, including yourself, on, let's say, the first page, then it's going to be something else, something that you can pay attention to, like click-through rate, things you can kind of influence. Increasing, click-through rate, that can be influenced by your title, description, stuff like any structured data that can make your result richer and just increase that footprint that just draws that eye. There's some way you can get an image featured in there. If you've got video content that could take that secondary position, these are all great ways to kind of go after that attention that's happening on the first page of results. Outsourcing software is looking for customers. Oh, what would you recommend to optimize first on a website for outsourced software companies looking for customers in the US? I would go and take a client. That's a great question. It would really depend on I guess I would find out who's the leader in this software space for the US, and then using a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, look to see what keywords are driving their traffic and see where there's some gaps. So what I would do is go look for those competitions, pay for that third-party software, run that site through there, find out what's ranking, what's driving their traffic, and then export that list and filter it down by keyword difficulty, and then sort it by keyword difficulty, and then look at the ones that have high volume, low difficulty, and if they make sense for what you have and what you're offering, or you could create pages that speak to this, then that's your opportunity. Moz is a great all-round tool. If somebody's looking to kind of get into those third-party tools that want something that's a little bit more user-friendly, that's the first one I would recommend people use. That's usually when we hire people on. I know Kenzie started on Moz, and they've actually offered all of their training courses for free for SEO, which they're a great starting resource for sure. So, hey, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, look at the competition and see what they're doing. I hate to replicate what other people are doing, but at the same time, I mean, if it's working, let's figure out where the holes are in their game and push for that. Oh man, that's it depends on my mood in the day. Which is better is what the question is. Ahrefs, Moz, or SEMrush? Personally, I like Ahrefs. I also like Moz's tool. It didn't have the keyword research tool before, but it's gotten a lot better. And I've recommended Moz to most people that are starting out that want something a little bit more user-friendly. SEMrush I don't use as frequently, so I'm not as quick with it. So yeah, I would lean towards Ahrefs, but I know people in the same space that have used SEMrush more and would argue the other way. And most people kind of agree that Moz is a pretty decent tool. So yeah, that's my two cents there. Are these like a brick and mortar, Joel? So Joel's asking, what's the best first step to entering new geolocation markets for an expanding business that's well established in one city/region? Are these brick and mortar businesses, Joel? Like they have a physical location? No physical location. Okay. Your Google My Business should be set up as a service area business. You can add multiple service areas now. I wouldn't spam this by adding like, oh, I'm also in Moscow, Russia, as well as San Francisco and Halifax. Be realistic about that. And then I would establish pages. If you're looking, there is it depends answer to this, but if the business is it like a service business, I guess, Joel? Wholesale to retailers, but okay. Interesting. Yeah, Joel, I'd have to dig into this a little bit deeper. Pet products, okay. And they're selling online, or they're opening up. So no physical location, but there's some. Oh, I don't think there's a local play on that then. Unless, okay, expanding to the US. So I would, yeah, if you're gonna have a US specific site, look into hreflangs, make sure you have like a US specific site. But yeah, I think to really give you, no problem, Jennifer, thank you. Yeah, if you're offering everything online, I don't think there's really a local play, but if you want to look at like the different regions, so there's a different currency in the US versus Canada if they're Canadian products. So they have to kind of have everything lined up and have a US dedicated site. Prices in US, shipping's all set up in US. That's the way I would approach it. And then using hreflang to kind of differentiate the difference between the Canadian site and the US site. Any other questions out there? Or does anybody else have something they'd like to share about what's been going on for them as far as coronavirus? There's things they've noticed in traffic. Okay, Misty's got a question. A little different than Joel's question. We serve 2 locations, but don't seem to come up for one of them. Can you give me an example, Misty, and I'll run it through on this shared screen. Okay. The deck, but also go to cruise in Sydney. So so Sydney's probably the bigger geographical location. Sightsee tours. Oh, let's see. Right. Tours. Okay. And cabottrail.travel, is that you guys? No? Okay, excuse me. Cabot Discovery Tours? There we go. Okay. So I got you on 3rd position. Do you have dedicated pages to these phrases or to the 2 different locations that you offer the sightseeing tours on? There are different search terms for cruise as well, but fine, we don't come up. Okay. Sightseeing tours. Here. Let's take a look at one of these tools here, guys. So this is Ahrefs, if anybody's curious about Ahrefs as a tool. I'm just running this in to see kind of a bit of an unbiased search result. I'm assuming, Misty, that you're focused on Canada or the US. Okay, not dedicated regional location. So yeah, Cabot Discovery Tours, private tours. These are not boat tours, though, eh? Shore trips. Okay. Yeah, if you're going after a specific term, so let's say, I'm just going back through here. We're going for keyword explorer. So what I'm doing, I'm just looking up this keyword, the keyword Cape Breton, but we're going to go having same terms. And we're going to include, let's just start with cruise. So we're just looking up for keywords that have it. So cruise Cape Breton, Bird Island cruise Cape Breton. Not a whole lot of search volume. This is Canada. We can check out the US as well. See, there's a little bit more. Sometimes there's more search volume. But let's look at the US just as a microcosm, because if it works here, if it works in the US, it'll work in Canada. So we're going to look up cruise. Cruise Cape Breton, 10 search volume. There's no competition on that as well. I would dedicate a page specifically to them, specifically to the cruises. If they offer them different, if there's a different cruise in Bedeck versus Sydney, I would dedicate pages to those and offer a page that's highlighting what the cruises are about and then offering the packages below. Oh, the tour? Then, excuse me, you're saying, Misty's saying they're not a cruise. We service cruise clients, excuse me. So what are you hoping to rank for? Oh. Sorry, I just lost my page there, guys. You bear with me for a minute. So mostly just wondering why we don't seem to get as much traffic from there as we perceived others do. Maybe not the issue. Okay, so you're the excursions from the cruise. Excuse me. Now I understand, Misty. My apologies for that miscommunication. Right. So you want to show up for cruise excursions. Yeah. I used to be in this space. Excursions is definitely the keyword that's used. I would say cruise excursions. I would go after that, and I would create pages dedicated to cruise excursions. So I might even create like a subsection dedicated to cruise excursions and then have those geographical locations broken down within there, if that makes sense. And Omit's asking about long tail keywords. In my website affect SEO ranking after 6 months and blog article titles. Long tail keywords. So long tail, that's the end of the tail when you're looking at a graph. So it's not the people. There's a common misconception that it's because there's a lot of keywords in there that we call them long tail. But actually, the long tail keywords are they have low search volume. Usually end up being a lot longer. They can be phrases. They really help from a peripheral content standpoint. We definitely explore those for blog content with clients, and answering those questions that people are asking. And long tail really does help. So I wouldn't say that you couldn't broadly say that long tail words are affecting your SEO, but if you can't rank for, say, the shorter phrase, common technique I'll use. I have my screen still share again here. Just gonna open up this guy. Share. Oh. Bear with me for a minute here. I'm gonna share again. There we go. One tactic. My screen share is not working, guys. I apologize for that. I'm gonna try one last time, and if somebody could tell me if they can see it. Kenzie, can you see that?
It's all white.
It's all white. That's not good. All right. So in the people also ask section, going back to Omid's question here, there's a lot of great opportunities for long tail keywords. They might even be so long tail that they won't show up with any sort of search volume, but these are questions that are being asked around the main subject matter. So if you're going after something, let's say Sydney excursions, for example, and you're not able to rank for Sydney excursions because there's way too much competition, and I'm just pulling this out of my head, I don't know for sure, then you can go for a long tail approach where you're looking for phrases that include those key terms, but ask more of a specific question. And then I would create peripheral content, so blog content being a great example of this, that answers these specific questions, and then they point back to the main page that you're trying to rank for the broader term of, say, Sydney cruise excursions. So you might have, how much does Sydney cruise excursions cost? You could write a blog post around that for an example, and within that you could have a link that links specifically to Cruise Excursions Sydney that goes to the page that's dedicated to explaining to people what that page is about or what those excursions are. Does that answer your question? Omid? Awesome. Great. Thank you. We've got a few more minutes here. If anybody else has any additional questions or has any additional insights, I'm more than willing to pass the mic.